So today we are going to have another session on psychological well-being. So I'm Gautaman. I'm the academic head and founder of IPM IAS Academy. So in IPM IAS Academy, we really focus on the psychological well-being of the students, because we know that when we are preparing for the civil services examination, we have a lot of stress because we need to study a lot of things, and there are other problems related with the finance, job, etc. All those things will come, but our main objective is to clear this examination, and for that we need focus, we need concentration, we need dedication. All these things are necessary. But if there is any kind of psychological problems, or if you feel like you're not equipped to study for this examination, if you feel like you are not confident enough to study for this examination, all those things will affect your preparation. So in order to sort out all those things, to give you a clear idea about how you can actually prepare, how you can do a self-regulation aspects and all, we are conducting these sessions in IPM IAS Academy. And today we are really fortunate to have our guest. Okay, so I would like to introduce our guest today. We have Dr. Radhika with us. Radhika is a very well experienced person in clinical psychology. She's a clinical psychologist and also working as an assistant professor in the Department of Psychiatry, Kasturba Medical College, Mangalore. So, which is actually coming under the Manipal University. And Radhika has completed her MPhil and PhD from one of the most reputed institutions in India, that is NIMHANS. You might have heard about this institution. It's one of the prestigious institution in India, and NIMHANS Bangalore. And she has got the Rehabilitation Council license for practicing as a clinical psychologist, and she has got more than 7 years of experience in actually seeing or interacting with children, adolescents, adults with anxiety, depression, and other mental health issues. Okay, so I know her from my PG time period onwards, like post-graduation time period onwards, and always I would like to introduce her and invite her for a session in our academy, but now fortunately we got that opportunity and she agreed our invitation. So today we will be witnessing that, and please make use of this opportunity. You can ask your doubts regarding your preparation and all those aspects, not the examination and all, but regarding the self-regulation, the main topic, that is self-regulation and psychological well-being. You can have a great interaction with her. And first we will be having her presentation, and then we will be having a question answer session towards the end. Okay, so I request everybody to mute your devices for the smooth smooth conduct of the sessions. Okay, with this I would like to invite Madam. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you for the whole warm welcome, and I'm very glad to be here. I'm glad to be invited by the Academy for this talk as well. I think it's a very important thing that IAS aspirants are also being introduced to or exposed to mental health topics, so I'm very excited to be here as well. So without much further ado, I'll go ahead with the presentation part. If there are any questions, if there are your own reflections or contributions, do feel free to mention them, at least in the chat box, or raise your hands, and any contributions will be welcome. So we're going to deal with a topic called self-regulation and well-being. Now, why self-regulation? Why do we need to know about the self-regulation itself? I'd like you to just reflect back to when was the last time when you got adequate number of hours for sleep, whether we ourselves have good physical health. Are you able to exercise? Are you able to participate in any activity which related to diet or healthy exercise and maintain your own physical health, etc. So now, a very recent study showed that at least 36% of IAS aspirants have very poor physical health. And a lot of them, at least 46%, around half of the population who's aspiring to become IAS professionals who are trying for that particular exam don't have adequate number of hours of sleep, have only around 4 hours of sleep or less, which is quite alarming. And at least 12% of them have some psychiatric diagnosis, which might be anxiety, depression, anything like that. So there is a need for us to acknowledge this, be aware of this, and take care of our health, mental health, so that we are not falling prey to any of these difficulties. It showed that only 29% of them, or 31% of them showed that they had good mental health. And what was more shocking was that with number of attempts, as the number of attempts for the particular exam increases, the mental health itself seems to be deteriorating. That is, there seems to be more stress, much poorer mental health. The green line depicts the rise in the stress levels that the aspirants have over 2 attempts, 4 attempts, 6 attempts, and so on. So there is definitely a need for us to understand what is causing this stress and take measures to regulate them or manage these stresses. What are the stress levels, or what are the sources of stress for IAS aspirants? Even without me telling you, I'm sure that you're all aware of this. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of unstructured, what do you say? There's no clarity, or there's a lot of unstructured time that you are having to structure, isn't it? The time management is completely in your hands to how do you prepare for this. It is not a particular course that you can go through, unlike those who are those who are studying in a particular center per se. But you have to make your own personal choices. Regarding that, regardless of that, you have a lot of pressure. It's a competitive examination. So these are not things that I need to remind you of, but the fact that the sources of stress are quite unpredictable or mostly unstable, that is a cause for concern. That is where self-regulation comes into play. Now let's understand what that is. It is the ability to manage your own energy states, emotions, behaviors, and attention in ways that are socially acceptable and help achieve positive goals such as maintaining good relationships, learning, and maintaining well-being. So as you can see, it's a holistic approach to make sure that you are consistently able to manage your emotions, manage your thoughts, and your physical health so that you can achieve whatever goals that you have. Self-regulation is known to have better health outcomes in individuals, in any individuals for that matter. It leads to better general physical health. It's also known to very important for individuals who are, especially in the academic field. We require better clarity of thought. We require a lot of planning, a lot of ability to make decisions, right decisions, judging what is best for us, etc. So apparently self-regulation seems to be helping in all these things. That is what studies show. And on the flip side of this, as there is lower and lower self-regulation, it leads to procrastination, especially in the academic field. We start being disorganized. There is less time management, and that learning itself becomes very disorganized. We are not able to allocate proper time for this. That rhythm is not there for the body or the mind. A word of caution: self-regulation is not the same as self-control. So very often we think that, especially when we are learning something, when we have a pressure to perform and we are racing against time, we have a feeling that, okay, I need to restrict myself. I need to make sure that I don't indulge in anything that I like. So what happens with self-control is that I start restricting everything. I start restricting my impulses, my urges, and along with that, my needs are also not taken care of. And it's mostly a punitive kind of a way of restricting oneself in the real world. Whereas self-regulation is to do with a flexible adaptation. When you do self-control, what happens is that if I'm not able to achieve a particular standard, then I start thinking that I'm not worth it, isn't it? If I say that, okay, I need to finish this particular chapter before lunch, otherwise I don't eat lunch. If that is a condition that I'm posing, that is a self-control measure. It is a punitive measure. It is a basic food that we are reducing from or avoiding taking part in. So in such a situation, if you're not able to meet that requirement, then I start thinking and doubting myself. I start saying that you're not really able to at least even achieve this particular target. So self-regulation in that sense is not punitive. We are saying that, okay, on a consistent basis, you have your needs and those needs need to be met. And by those needs being met, our body and mind are going in a particular rhythm that helps you focus more and more towards your academic aspect of your life or any other aspect of your life to function better. So here, there are 4 components of self-regulation: increasing or enhancing your cognitive capacity, how much of attention you're able to focus on one thing, your commitment to something, delay of gratification. Am I able to say I won't eat this particular chocolate right now, I'll eat it slightly later? That delay of gratification is also required. Emotion regulation, that is regulating your own emotions. Am I still with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I think my network went off. Yeah. Are you still able to see the slides?
Not now, ma'am. Yeah, now I can.
Okay.
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, thank you. So we were talking about 3 aspects: cognitive capacity, the ability to delay gratification, emotion regulation. Emotion regulation is to do with how you are able to manage your own emotions. There might be unpleasant emotions at times. We might have a lot of anger, a lot of hurt. How do you manage these? Isn't it? It's a lot of difficulty. When our emotions go for a toss, then our routine also goes for a toss. I might have decided that, okay, for 1 week, I will do this particular routine. I will perform this particular routine. And then I have some mood shift here and there, and then it goes for a toss. I don't feel like doing anything, isn't it? So how do I manage those emotions? And so you can see the last part is effortful control or self-control. So your regulation, your self-regulation consists of all these aspects. So self-regulation, self-control is just a part of that higher part called self-regulation. Of this, we are going to deal with mostly emotion regulation because that has a lot of ripple effects towards the other aspects of self-regulation. So, like I said, if there is a hurt, if there is some sort of stress, if there is chronic stress, uncertainty, academic pressure, etc., our emotions can go up and down. And at times we might tend to suppress them or we tend to deny them. And at times we might not take care of our own needs, basic emotional needs itself. So that can lead to deterioration of your own physical health as well. On the other hand, when we have poor physical health, say suppose if you're down with fever, our tolerance might be very less with regard to, we might get angry very easily, we might burst out into tears very easily. And so that can lead to poor emotion regulation as well, management of that emotion itself. So either way, physical health and emotion regulation are very much interconnected with each other. So first part of emotion regulation. So before managing those emotions, we need to understand what is my emotion. At this particular time, what am I feeling? How do I label my emotion? So we have quite a lot of emotions, of which just some of them are mentioned here: happiness, sadness, fear, disgust, etc. Now, at times we tend to not acknowledge those feelings. I might be shunning out certain emotions like, say, guilt or shame, etc., or disappointment. I'm just pushing it away, pushing it down into the dungeon of my mind, right? But then what happens is that I start acting out very angrily. I start being resentful towards people. Then, like I said, our routine also goes for a toss, etc. Isn't it? So, first of all, the main thing that we need to do is to acknowledge to ourselves that, okay, you are feeling this way, or I am feeling hurt, I am feeling disappointed. And it's okay to acknowledge that particular emotion, whatever it be. Now, it's not an easy thing for us to acknowledge, especially unpleasant emotions, isn't it? Sadness, anger, fear, etc. are emotions that we always want to run away from. So, why do we have these emotions? Why do we have these unpleasant emotions? So, psychologists say that each emotion comes with a message. Each emotion is like a postman that is just coming up to your house and just delivering a postcard to you and is back on his way, right? So, what is the message that happiness has to say? Happiness is suggesting that, okay, whatever I see around me, I want more of this. That is all that that particular emotion is trying to tell us. What about sadness? Sadness, if I'm feeling sad, then it shows that in the external world, I'm missing somebody. Maybe I feel hurt. Maybe this is not what I wanted. It's helping us say that, okay, this is what I prefer. This is something that I don't like, etc. What about fear? If I have fear, especially in a jungle, I'm stuck in a jungle and I see a lion, and imagine that you don't feel fear. It is an abnormal reaction, isn't it? So, this particular reaction is telling us that there is danger. Be cautious. I am not safe. That is all that fear is trying to tell us, right? And we don't need to run away from these unpleasant emotions, is what they are trying to tell us. Disgust is, I don't like this, or a particular thing is not against the value that I believe in. Or anger. Anger suggests that some boundary violation has occurred, or somebody is disrespecting me, right? Or this is just not what I want. Or surprise. Surprise is suggesting, again, I welcome this, I want more of this, right? So each emotion has a purpose. Once we acknowledge that, every emotion is trying to just give that message and then go away. What we do with it is secondary. So if we do feel hurt or disappointed or resentful or angry, etc., can we acknowledge that and let it pass by? So we'll need to educate ourselves about our own emotions. The fact that there are no good or bad emotions or negative or positive emotions per se. All emotions serve a purpose. It's only trying to communicate a message to us. So we need not try to run away from some emotions, constantly be afraid of those emotions. And the best part or the worst part in some emotions cases is that no emotion is permanent. Each emotion is just fleeting. Do we stay angry through the entire time of our lives? No, isn't it? After being angry for some time, say max to max, it might last for 1 day or 2 days, maybe. After that, it has to go. Another emotion might come up. At least through distraction, some other emotions might keep coming and going. So it's like clouds on the sky. One comes and goes, the next one comes and goes. Right? Nothing is permanent. No emotion is permanent. It's just giving the message and passes by. But the catch here is that we should acknowledge it. The more we try to hide from the emotion, the more we try to move away from the emotion, it's is going to come behind us and ask us to acknowledge it. Having an emotion and acting on it are two different things. If at all, if I feel angry towards my partner, I need not act on it. Even if I don't act on it, I can still acknowledge that I feel angry at this particular person. That need not be a sinful thing. That need not be something that I need to completely avoid or deny. So how do we do this? How do we validate our emotions? How do we label that emotion and allow that feeling to be present? Acknowledging the emotion, saying that, okay, right now I'm feeling fear inside me. Accepting the feeling instead of saying, okay, I should not feel fear. Why am I feeling afraid? Why am I feeling angry? I should not feel this way. This anger should not be present at all. Right? When once we start using a lot of shoulds, once we start saying that this is not right with an emotion, it starts strengthening itself. It starts getting bigger and bigger. We start having a tug of war with that particular emotion, isn't it? So instead, can I accept it? Can I tolerate the fact that this emotion is not staying for the whole life? It's just here as a cloud for some time. Can I allow the feeling to be here? It's like an unwanted guest. I'm not going to show him out of the house, but okay, I'm acknowledging. There's an inconvenience maybe, but still, I'm just going to tolerate that at least. I'm going to stay with that emotion. So ways in which there are different ways in which I can talk to myself about my feeling. It's okay to feel sad. It's normal to feel angry in such a situation. Whatever be the situation, I have a right to feel angry. I need not act on it, but I have a right to feel what I feel. Because we are not generating those feelings, isn't it? So, and I am tired, and hence I deserve to get some rest. It's okay to cry, or I have a right to cry. Or today has been a difficult day for me, or I am proud of myself. These are all different words or statements that you can use to tell yourself that having an emotion is okay. Now, how do we manage these difficult emotions? It can be through distraction, activity of opposite emotion. If I feel slightly sad, if I feel slightly down, what is the activity that would have the exact mood shift from this state to another happy state, right? Say going out with friends. That might be an activity of an opposite emotion. It will lead to happiness, isn't it? So I'm going to engage myself in that kind of an activity. Pursuing hobbies or time out from particular jobs or particular academic work itself is also helpful. Speaking to someone, therapy is helpful at times. Taking a small break or a vacation. And one of the most important things is rhythmicity for the body. Now we're going to physical health and regulation. How do we provide rhythm for the body? Making sure that we get enough sleep, that is 6 to 8 hours, being physically active, having some form of an exercise, yoga, sports, dance, anything, but at similar timings on each day. It can be just a matter of 5 minutes or 10 minutes, but that can help us with our mental health as well. It can help us regulate our mood, our emotions also, so that we can have more focus on our studies. Then regular meals. The power of regular meals and sleep is immense. So the body requires that kind of a routine. The same third, the same rhythmicity with which we perform a particular set of activities day in and day out. So sleep. Okay, the body is able to predict. Next is my meal time. Next is my sleep time. The more predictable there is a routine, the happier and comfortable the body is, and we'll have lesser physical health issues or illnesses particularly. Now that is to do with the body. Now it's like, raising a baby as well, or a pet. If you have a pet at home, how do you make sure that it is healthy and happy? It doesn't need too many things, isn't it? Just needs to be fed at the right time and made to sleep at the right time. So that is all that our body also requires. But the sameness in terms of timing is very important. For the mind, it is a different kind of a thing that gives it oxygen. Some hobbies once a day or once in 2 to 3 days. Any kind of a hobby is like an oxygen for the mind, so that we can feel rejuvenated and come back to our academic performance or job performance, etc. But say suppose I'm reducing any pleasurable activity from my life until and unless I clear that particular examination, or until and unless I get that particular promotion. In that sense, I'm getting drained day in and day out. That performance itself is going to drain me of my energy. For the mind to feel rejuvenated, it needs some kind of a play. So that is why hobbies is also required. It can be as simple as just blowing bubbles for 5 minutes, or just playing with clay for 5 minutes, just like children do, without a particular goal. If you're just engaging in something that is playful for some part of the day. Am I short of time, Gautam?
No. You can continue.
Okay, all right. So here, how do we maintain sleep? I know that as our exams get closer, the need to sit up and then perform academic work becomes greater. So it might not always be possible to have 6 to 8 hours or 8 to 10 hours as is the average requirement. So how do we maintain that? The moment I hit the bed, I'm able to sleep. So I'm not wasting time tossing and turning while on the bed and not getting enough sleep then, once I am able to rest. Making sure that we don't have caffeine, any stimulating substances, caffeine or alcohol after 5 p.m. The important thing is, if possible, as much as possible, not studying while sitting or lying on the bed. So bed is always to be associated with sleeping. So you sit on the chair for a long time if you're not feeling sleepy. Once you feel sleepy, then you hit the bed. So over time, once you hit the bed, you start feeling sleepy as well. So it goes vice versa. And like I mentioned, adhering to particular timings for sleeping and waking up. Exercise, reducing of stress, avoiding huge intake of unhealthy food just before sleeping, etc., will also help in maintaining a particular routine of that sleep. And creating a conducive sleep environment, making sure that the bed is also very welcoming, having a good pillow, having a good warm room with dim lighting, etc. These are very trivial things, but they all help in maintaining that hygiene of sleep. There are other ways of self-regulation as well. Keeping in touch with your friends and family, that social support becomes all the more important during a phase, especially when you're studying all by yourself most of the time. And taking constant breaks in between the monotonous studying that we might be having. The main aspect of this is that very often I hear individuals mentioning that I keep taking breaks, but I don't feel relaxed. I don't feel rejuvenated. So at times what happens is that when we are taking breaks, we end up either criticizing ourselves for taking breaks. We say that, okay, you're not supposed to take this break. You should not have taken this break. You should have been able to study for 7 hours continuously. etc. So we're still chiding ourselves. So that self-criticism or that shoulds, musts, etc. If we can bring that down a bit and say that, okay, I deserve a break. Can I give myself one break in a day at least, and not have that guilt for taking that break? That is very essential. And having spirituality also helps for some individuals. Another important part is rewards, making sure that we constantly give ourselves feedback. Humans are all creatures who rely a bit on reward and punishment. Even if we become adults, we always enjoy getting gifts and rewards, etc., isn't it? So it can be verbal, social, or tangible rewards. I can tell myself that I'm proud of myself, or just hugging yourself. Or it can be any tangible items like food, pen, bag, sticker, or maybe an activity, spa, or a decorative item, or a flower vase. So what I'm trying to say is that it can be as varied as possible. Or it can be meeting a friend or engaging in a particular activity. Now we'll need to decide the time and the task beforehand. So if I say that I'll do gardening if I study well today, that is not a structured reward that we are giving. So instead, can I say I will spend 10 minutes in the garden watering my plants, or just, smelling my flowers in the garden once I finish 30 minutes of studying, or one chapter, etc. Another thing is that it needs to be prompt. If I say that it will be unnecessary waste of money after I achieve that particular target, after doing that one chapter, I tell myself that, okay, it's just a waste of money. Maybe I'll wait for the next time, then I'll buy myself something. That is also not prompt. You need to, right after that particular task is over, we'll need to make sure that we can rely on our own promises. Then it can be small, but still it needs to be significant. And it needs to come at regular intervals. I'll buy myself a pen I like after 1 year of studying well. So it's a very long duration for us to go without any rewards. So that can lead to burnout. So instead, can I give myself some small reward after a portion, some small reward after a week or after a month? Need not always be something that I buy myself, like I said. So anything will do, but we require some kind of a reward for our own self. And it's nothing to feel ashamed of giving ourselves a gift, per se. So ultimately, mental health includes both the emotional well-being of our individual as well as the psychological well-being and the social welfare. The social support also matters in regulating ourselves. So I'd like to end with a quote. It says that self-care is giving the world the best of you instead of what's left of you. So I hope that as you go forward, you're able to collect more resources to engage in your own self-care so that you can provide for others and provide for the world. Right? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. That was a wonderful session. Basically, whenever we talk about the psychological well-being, it's all connected to us. Whatever she was mentioning in the presentation, I think most of the things we can relate. That's the importance of this particular subject, that is psychology. Okay, so now it's time for you to ask your doubts. I'm pretty sure that you might be having some confusion or some doubts regarding how to be healthy mentally and physically. So if you have anything like that, or whatever she has mentioned right now, you can ask your doubts now. In the meantime, I'll ask one question. It's a common problem among the civil service aspirants. Basically, anxiety is one of the major problem, right? Because they need to study a lot of things, but we are not pretty sure about what kind of question will come in the examination. And so because of that, a lot of anxiety for the students. And apart from that, there is another problem existing is when we are listening to the the interviews of some of the toppers of the civil service examination, you can see that they say they study for more than 15 hours a day or more than 14 hours a day continuously. They study. So many kinds of opinions and observations you will be able to see when you're actually listening to an interview. So the students tend to compare with those people because they may not be studying for 15 hours. They may be studying for 4 hours or 5 hours. So that sort of anxiety will be there, whether I'll be able to clear the examination because they are studying for that many hours. So what can we do with such thoughts? How can we sort out that issue?
Yeah. So now, with respect to your first question, with regard to anxiety itself, a major chunk of anxiety that we see is to do with more than being able to perform well, or more than being able to do that particular exam well itself. It's about that self-doubt itself, whether I will be able to perform well. So the fact that I give myself certain conditions, I need to adhere by those conditions, only then I am worth it or I will be able to perform well. So putting particular conditions or putting ourselves into certain boxes might not help. Telling ourselves that, if I'm you mentioned, the fact that if I'm comparing myself with the other person, the number of hours, irrespective of how much I'm able to recall. So that it will be at the cost of that. Ultimately, what matters is that consistency. Over time, am I able to maintain a particular number of hours, be it number of hours or be it the content that I'm able to study? So if that consistency is maintained, then you can have a consistent mental health alongside that. And at the end time, at the end moment, we don't need to panic with respect to that, isn't it? So that comparison and self-doubt is something that seems to be very much inherent. Another thing that contributes to this kind of self-doubt or that anxiety is the nature of that exam. So some part of this anxiety, you will need to attribute it to the fact that this is not an easy exam that you're writing. This is not a kind of cycle that you're committing to, just like other people. Say, for instance, even if it is a student who is writing a medical entrance exam or even a 10th board exam, these are all different exams which are just one-time examinations, isn't it? This is an ongoing kind of nature of that exam itself is such that we are exposed to that kind of a chronic stress. So can we not attribute it to, okay, my personality, the fact that I am an anxious person, I am an incapable person, etc. Instead of that, can I attribute some part of it to that exam itself? This is such a course, this is such an examination. Part of the reason I'm anxious is to do with this exam. So then we don't need to really take that responsibility for this kind of an uncertainty and that tumultuous period that we're having to go through. Isn't it?
Thank you. I think that helped them also. I mean, those who are attending, because all of them are actually having this issue connected with comparison and also the anxiety. And I think one more doubt I got was regarding how to acknowledge the emotions. You're talking about acknowledging the emotions. Usually what we used to do is the same thing you were mentioning, like we run away from that emotion. Basically, if you find that it is a negative emotion and it will affect your the preparation or your life, then we try to run away or try to avoid that. But actually speaking, the moment you are trying to avoid, we are moving closer to that emotion. So how can we acknowledge that without reacting or to that situation? How can we acknowledge that?
So yeah, it's a very difficult thing for all of us, especially since we're not taught this in school either. I think this is something that we all need to be taught how to acknowledge a particular emotion itself. Say, I'll give you an example. If a friend comes to you and says that, okay, I'm going through a hard time. It's a very difficult phase of my life. I'm say any particular difficulty. Maybe it's a relationship issue, maybe it's some fight that they had with the mother, father, etc. Um, before directly jumping to advice, what do we tend to do? At times, advice also might not help. Our advice might not be helpful in that situation. Saying, okay, go talk to your mother, might not be feasible. So, in such situation, at times what we do is we just sit with the friend, isn't it? We might just share that sadness. This is really a sad moment, or this is a moment of suffering. And we are just sharing that experience with each other. There is just somebody to share it. Now, that is validation. That is acknowledging that emotion that, okay, I'm feeling sad, and oh, this is a moment of sadness, and I have a right to feel sad. Somebody else is acknowledging the fact that, oh, yes, this is true. This is so bad. I'm so sad that you're having to go through this. So, but when it comes to our own selves, we are very punitive. We tend to have a lot of high standards for ourselves. We'd say that, okay, you need to brush this off, you need to get up, you need to go do whatever you need to do. So you're not giving yourself some space to sit with that emotion, for fear that we might start pitying ourselves also. But all we require is, can I become like a friend to myself? Whatever I do for my friend, can I do this to myself? Can I tell myself, oh, this is sad? Oh, it's true. What a horrible thing to have to go through. I'm just acknowledging the fact that right at this moment, this is a moment of suffering. And I'm really sad. I'm really sorry that you're having to go through this. That's all that we are just acknowledging here. And that doesn't need to mean that I'm starting to pity myself, or I will end up doing no work. Very often we tend to think that unless and until we are very self-critical, we won't be able to motivate ourselves. We won't be able to do work later. So we can be compassionate towards ourselves also and still motivate ourselves to do better work. That's something that I think can help in that aspect.
Yes, absolutely. I think. Thank you for that. Because always find it very difficult to acknowledge. We used to hear this. You need to acknowledge the emotion, but how can we do that? That's a problem. And again, another important question is related with the same thing. One is acknowledging. Another thing is taking a break. Actually, but you might be taking break from studies. Like if you are stressed and if you feel like you want to take a break, you might be taking break for 2 days or 3 days, but in the backside, maybe in the subconscious level, the same stress will be continuing, like
Yeah.
how can we say that we are in reality we are taking a break?
Yeah, and now, especially with the advent of technology, we are having to end up taking breaks, but we are not present there in that break at all. We are in that virtual space, and ultimately, we feel drained out at the end of it also. So, the one other major thing here also is acknowledging the fact that, okay, I need a break, and it is okay to take that break. Can I acknowledge that to myself without the additional guilt, the additional self-criticism? Another person is studying that particular hour and I'm taking that break. I need that break. It's not even a selfish need that you're putting forth there. Here, it is just the body's need. Even if my own self, I feel as a resilient person, I can go on for 8 days, 10 days without breaks. As individuals, I'm sure all of you have that capacity as well. All of them have that capacity. But then here we're talking only about that body's need. The body will get exhausted. So we are giving food in between to the body, saying that, okay, just go relax. It's just like taking bath. Just because you took bath once a day, it doesn't mean that the next day you don't take bath, isn't it? So that way, that is the example that I can give the students also. That need for break is immense, and it is okay to take that break, first of all. The second thing is planning what they do during that break. Very often we feel that once we don't plan what we do during that break, we end up scrolling. It's very easy to scroll through mobiles or Netflix, whatever it be. And we are mindless. We end up feeling that we have wasted some time and we've not been able to relax. So, what are things that give me some bit of pleasure and has least amount of effort? Maybe I'm rejuvenated by nature. If I'm just sitting in my garden, I feel happy. It's not effortful, but it's something where I'm present. I'm with that particular place. Wherever I am, I'm present. For some of us, it might be yoga or any other relaxation exercise per se, but that at times depends also, I'm guessing. Relaxation exercise, it's not always easy to do that during breaks also. But we'll need to understand what is our need. At the moment, is it a social connection? Do I need to get out of this place where I'm sitting and studying monotonously for 8 hours to 10 hours? If that change of place is required, check in with your body. That's what I would urge the students also. What does the body need? Does it require some social connection, some talking with some friends? Maybe it's just just savoring a particular small meal or small food that you have, right? But all that you will have to slowly allow yourself to be in that present moment. And at times you can also use Netflix or mobiles, TVs, etc. Also, that is also a kind of a relaxation where you're going into your fantasy as well, isn't it? So, but not use it for each of the breaks that we have.
So one thing is I've heard that self-love is really important, for confidence and all other positive as well as negative emotions. Self-love is very important. But I think many of the people are actually missing that we are able to show our compassion, sympathy, everything to others. But when it comes to us, a problem with us, or that self-love or self-respect, sometimes we lose. So how can we build that? I know it's a very broad question, but any tips?
Yeah, it's another topic for seminar in itself, isn't it? Yeah, yes. It's a huge topic per se. And yes, very truly, very rightly put, the self-love is so important for us to carry ourselves confidently and to make sure that we engage in activities well also. Self-love, more than self-love, I would say, at least if we can start with that self-compassion, self-care, caring for ourselves, making sure that we eat on time, we sleep on time, are also acts of self-care, self-love, and compassion also. We are saying that we are not indulging in ourselves. We are not indulging in anything just because we love ourselves. We are saying that in a moderate amount, I'm allowing myself to do this. I'm giving myself warmth, but then I require discipline also. So I don't need to be critical of myself to, to give myself love. Very often people have that misconception. If I am giving myself self-love, then I might end up pampering myself. I might not, motivate myself towards success. That's a very wrong notion. We can always celebrate our small victories, small achievements, and even if it is not an achievement in the eyes of the society, if it is something that we feel good, then celebrate that victory. That is very important, right? Very often it's only the major wins that people might see. So it is up to us to keep our morale high as well, so that we won't be able to do it through self-criticism. The more criticism that we engage in, the more we're pulling ourselves down, isn't it? So without criticizing ourselves, can I set goals for myself and again encourage myself that, okay, I can do this, being our own cheerleader.
Yes, so that I know that is a very broad area,
Yeah.
You can take a webinar on that itself. But I felt that is a very important question. I think
Very
now
important.
now I can see that self-care, it's all part of maybe self-love, the broader thing, right?
Yeah. But yeah,
Okay.
it's much beyond that. Sorry, it's just beyond all that. As in, this is just a gist of what I was able to mention.
Yeah.
Comprehensive.
Hello, ma'am. Hello, sir. Actually,
Yeah.
thank you for this presentation. It's like a reimposing our thought into self-care. Actually, I don't have questions, but the session made me to understand that is reimposing my mind towards the rewarding to our mind. And even though no, sometimes we feel like taking breaks and all, it's like in what ways we can involve ourselves during the break. That is a good tip for me. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me once again.